Here is your cleaned, fully formatted, and correctly punctuated text. No content or spelling has been changed. Only formatting and punctuation has been corrected. Every single day, millions of people look in the mirror and see the same thing. Dark patches spreading across the face, brown spots creeping up the hands and along the neck. They showed up quietly, one at first, then two, then so many you stopped counting. You've tried creams, you've tried home remedies, and when you finally went to a doctor, you got a shrug and two words: it's aging. I'm here to tell you that answer is wrong. Age spots, the medical term is hyperpigmentation, are not a verdict, and they are not an inevitable consequence of getting older. They are a signal that specific internal processes in your body are out of balance. And those processes can be corrected without expensive procedures, without $100 creams, without surgery, with straightforward tools that already exist in your kitchen. Subscribe to Dr. Waterling and hit like right now. We are pushing toward 1,000 subscribers, and this channel cannot grow without you. Here's something worth knowing before we go any further. The healthcare system is not built to keep you well. It's built to keep you coming back. That's not cynicism, that's economics. What you're about to hear, nobody at your next appointment is going to volunteer. So, subscribe, hit like, and let's get into it. Let's start with exactly what is happening inside your skin when a dark spot forms. In the deep layers of your skin live specialized cells called melanocytes. Melanocytes are pigment-producing cells. Their one job, their only job, is to manufacture a substance called melanin. Melanin is the dark pigment that gives your skin its color. When you are young and your body is running in coordination, melanocytes distribute that pigment evenly across the surface. Skin looks uniform, clear, and consistent. Here is what changes. Under the influence of specific internal and external factors, and we are going to walk through every one of them today, those cells begin working erratically. Some slow down, some go into overdrive, dumping massive amounts of pigment into a single concentrated point. The result is a dark patch against lighter surrounding skin. The critical thing to understand is this: age itself does not break melanocytes. What breaks them are specific, identifiable physiological processes. And that is actually good news, because specific processes can be changed. The first factor I want to address will surprise most people. It is not the sun. The majority of people are convinced that age spots are purely a sun problem. That is only partially true. The sun is a match, but for a match to start a fire, you need fuel. The fuel is what is happening inside your body. If your internal systems are functioning properly, sunlight is not your enemy. If there is internal dysfunction, spots can intensify in the middle of winter on overcast days without any meaningful sun exposure at all. This is why people coat themselves in expensive sunscreen, stay in the shade, and their spots keep darkening anyway. They are looking for the answer in the wrong place. Now, let's get into the specific mechanisms, and we're going to start with the liver. I know what you are thinking right now. What does the liver have to do with skin pigmentation? I'm going to explain that, and I think you will find it genuinely surprising. Your liver is performing more than 500 functions simultaneously at this very moment. 500 is not hyperbole. That is the documented physiological reality. It filters blood, breaks down fats, neutralizes toxins, produces bile, stores vitamins. It is one of the hardest working organs in your entire body. And one of its functions, one you are almost certainly not going to hear about at a dermatology appointment, is a direct influence on the condition of your skin. Every single day, substances enter your body that need to be processed and rendered harmless. Through food, through air, through water, the liver intercepts them, neutralizes them, and routes them out of the body. That is its job, to be the primary filter. But when the liver becomes overloaded, when it cannot keep up with the incoming volume, the workload gets redistributed to other elimination systems. One of those systems is your skin. This is not a figure of speech. This is physiology. Your skin is not just a wrapper around your body. It is a fully functioning excretory organ. When your liver and kidneys are working above capacity, your skin absorbs part of that load. And when substances that have not been fully neutralized begin passing through skin tissue, they irritate the cells from the inside, including the melanocytes. Irritated melanocytes start working chaotically. They dump pigment unevenly, concentrating it in the areas where skin is thinnest: the face, the hands, the neck, the chest. This is why you can apply the most expensive creams on the market and the spots will not budge. You are repainting the walls of an apartment where a pipe has burst. It is pointless until you fix the pipe. Here is an important number. As we age, blood flow through the liver declines. Research shows that by age 75, hepatic blood flow through the liver, can decrease by approximately 30%, and the liver itself can shrink in volume by 20% to 40%. The organ is slower. However, here's the good news. The liver has a remarkable capacity for recovery. Remove the things that are damaging it, support it with the right inputs, and it can significantly improve its own function. This is why the situation should not be ignored. How do you support your liver? With simple, accessible tools. No expensive supplements, just food and habits. First, begin every morning with a glass of warm water and a slice of lemon. Not hot, not cold, warm, approximately 98 degrees Fahrenheit, the temperature of your body. This gently stimulates bile flow. Bile is a digestive fluid produced by the liver that thickens overnight. The warm water with lemon encourages it to move. A single lemon costs almost nothing and lasts 3 to 4 days. If you have elevated stomach acid or a stomach ulcer, substitute the lemon for half a teaspoon of honey. Same principle, gentler delivery. Second, bitters. Bitter foods have a long-standing reputation as liver support, and there is scientific backing for it. They stimulate bile production, which helps the liver process fats. The most accessible source of bitterness is dandelion, the same plant that grows in your yard every spring. Dandelion leaves go into a salad. The root gets brewed as tea. 2 tablespoons of dried dandelion root per cup of boiling water. Steep for 20 minutes. Drink half a cup before a meal. Dandelion root is listed as an official medicinal plant in pharmacopoeias. At any health food store or pharmacy, it costs less than a standard box of tea. Bitter? Yes. Worth it? Absolutely. Third, eliminate trans fats. Trans fats are artificially modified fats found in cheap margarine and industrial baking fats. Store-bought cookies, inexpensive cakes, many packaged convenience foods. Read ingredient labels. If you see partially hydrogenated oils, that is them. Trans fats impose a significant additional burden on the liver and on the body as a whole. Replace them with a small amount of real butter, roughly ½ ounce per day. Simpler and cheaper than it sounds. 3 steps. Warm lemon water in the morning. Dandelion bitters before a meal. No trans fats. Within several weeks, you will have given your liver meaningful support. When the liver functions better, the skin carries less load. Not magic physiology. Now the second organ, one that influences pigmentation just as powerfully, possibly more so. Almost no one discusses it in the context of age spots. I'm talking about the gut. Researchers are actively studying what is called the gut-skin axis, the direct relationship between intestinal health and skin condition. Current evidence indicates that disruption of the gut microbiome can amplify inflammatory processes throughout the body, including the processes that dysregulate pigmentation. People with a disrupted gut microbiome show skin problems, including uneven pigmentation, at significantly higher rates. Why? Your gut is not simply a tube that food moves through. It is an entire ecosystem. Trillions of bacteria live inside it. A trillion is a 1 followed by 12 zeros. Those bacteria are governing processes you are not aware of, synthesizing vitamins, calibrating immune responses, regulating inflammation throughout the body. When beneficial bacteria are abundant, they maintain the gut wall as a tight, intact barrier. Nothing unauthorized crosses into the bloodstream. But when beneficial bacteria are depleted and harmful bacteria are dominant, that barrier function breaks down. In scientific literature, this is referred to as increased intestinal permeability, or, as it has come to be known colloquially, leaky gut. Through the weakened wall, fragments of bacteria and other substances enter the bloodstream and trigger an inflammatory response throughout the body. Quiet, invisible, no fever, no pain. But that chronic, low-grade inflammation is exactly what pushes melanocytes into dysregulated activity. Remember the match and the fuel? There it is. The fuel is that hidden chronic inflammation. You can avoid the sun for an entire year, but if this process is running in the background, pigmentation will keep intensifying regardless of the season. What do? Restore the microbiome. And for that, you do not need expensive probiotic capsules. First method, homemade sauerkraut, fermented cabbage. Not the store-bought kind sitting in vinegar and preservatives, but traditionally fermented, made with nothing but cabbage and salt. Sauerkraut is one of the richest natural sources of live beneficial bacteria. 2 to 3 tablespoons a day. Within a month, your gut will register a difference. Cabbage and salt, that is the entire ingredient list. It does not get cheaper than that. Second method, plain kefir. The simplest variety, no added flavors, with a short shelf life, 7 days maximum. The shorter the shelf life, the more live bacteria it contains. A glass of kefir before bed every single night, specifically at night, because the gut does its most active repair work during sleep, and the bacteria from the kefir integrate into the microbiome while you rest. But bacteria need fuel of their own. Their preferred food is fiber. Fiber consists of the rough plant-based material that your digestive system cannot break down, but that beneficial bacteria thrive on. One of the best accessible sources of fiber is plain oatmeal, not the instant packets, the real variety that takes 15 to 20 minutes on the stove. 3 tablespoons in the morning gives your gut bacteria their daily nutrition. And one more often overlooked factor: your gut cannot function normally without physical movement. Peristalsis, the rhythmic contractions that propel food through the intestines, slows down when you spend the day sitting. So alongside the dietary changes, add a simple abdominal massage. Lie on your back with your knees bent. Place both palms on your abdomen and slowly circle your hands clockwise. Clockwise, specifically because that follows the direction food travels through the intestinal tract. 36 rotations, moderate pressure, a gentle but deliberate compression, not a surface stroke. This practice has roots going back centuries in traditional medicine, and modern research confirms it. Abdominal massage demonstrably improves intestinal motility and supports normal digestion. Now let's return to the sun. The sun is the third factor in this sequence. When sunlight reaches your skin, it penetrates deep enough to contact the melanocytes and issues a signal: threat detected, defend yourself. Melanin is your skin's natural shield against ultraviolet radiation. This is why skin darkens with sun exposure, a normal, healthy, protective response. But here is what is not normal. When chronic inflammation already exists in your body because of an overburdened liver, a disrupted gut, or both, your melanocytes are already in a state of persistent irritation. They are already functioning erratically, and when UV light hits a cell that is already in that state, the response is disproportionate. Instead of a mild, even tan, a concentrated surge of pigment dumps into a single spot. That is your age spot. Not because the sun is your enemy, because your body was not prepared internally for that encounter. This is why the condition of your skin is determined from the inside. But this does not mean sun exposure is something to ignore. There are foods that help your skin resist UV damage from the inside out. They are called dietary antioxidants. Antioxidants are compounds that neutralize free radicals. Free radicals are unstable molecules generated in skin tissue under UV exposure. They damage cells. Antioxidants intercept them before the damage spreads. First, carrots. They contain beta-carotene, a compound that accumulates in skin tissue and functions as an internal light filter. Meta-analyses, large-scale scientific reviews, consolidating the results of dozens of individual studies, confirm that regular consumption of beta-carotene-rich foods increases the skin's resistance to ultraviolet damage. One critical detail: beta-carotene is fat-soluble, meaning it is only absorbed in the presence of dietary fat. Eat carrots with sour cream, a pat of butter, or cooked in oil. Without fat, beta-carotene passes straight through without being absorbed. Second, tomatoes, particularly heat processed, cooked, stewed, or as tomato paste. When heated, tomatoes release lycopene, one of the most potent natural antioxidants known. Clinical research demonstrates that regular consumption of tomato paste increases the skin's resistance to UV-induced damage. 2 tablespoons a day. Third, green tea. Loose leaf, not bad. Brew it strong. Let it cool. Drink it throughout the day, 3 to 4 cups. Loose leaf green tea contains a high concentration of catechins, antioxidants that directly protect skin cells from free radical damage. Carrots with fat, tomato paste, and green tea every day more protective than any SPF product on the shelf? A few words of plain common sense about sun behavior. During peak UV hours, roughly 11 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, be in shade. A light hat, a long sleeve shirt, that is sufficient. But do not hide from the sun entirely. That is the other extreme, and it carries real costs. Your body needs sunlight. Sunlight is how you produce vitamin D, and vitamin D deficiency is a problem that receives far too little attention. According to research data, insufficient or deficient vitamin D levels are found in the overwhelming majority of people over the age of 60. Most of them have no idea because low vitamin D does not cause pain. It produces no sharp, locatable symptom. It works quietly, the way rust corrodes iron from the inside. You cannot see it until the structure begins to fail. Vitamin D is involved in regulating immune activity, in the renewal of skin cells, and in protection against inflammation. Deficiency is associated with a wide range of skin problems. Research also indicates that vitamin D influences melanocyte function. The precise mechanisms are still being worked out, but the directional evidence is consistent. One point is settled. Maintaining normal vitamin D levels is an essential component of health, and skin is no exception. Think you need expensive supplements? Not necessarily. Not yet. Start with what is freely available. Sunlight to generate your daily vitamin D. 15 minutes outdoors between April and September with your forearms and face exposed is sufficient. 15 minutes, free and effective. Then food. First, herring, regular salted herring from any grocery store. 100 grams contains approximately 1.5 times the daily recommended intake of vitamin D. 1 portion at lunch, question answered for the day. Second, egg yolks. 2 yolks per day provide roughly 30% of the daily vitamin D requirement. In combination with other sources, a meaningful contribution. Third, cod liver. 1 teaspoon per day. A small jar costs very little and lasts 2 to 3 weeks. No capsules required. Herring, eggs, cod liver, ordinary products from an ordinary grocery store. Now the fifth factor. This one can outweigh all 4 preceding factors combined. It has nothing to do with food, nothing to do with the sun. It is connected to your nervous system, to what you feel every single day. In 15 years of clinical practice, I have seen patients who ate correctly, supported their liver, drank kefir every evening, followed every protocol, and their spots did not fade. New ones appeared. And only when we addressed one thing that had nothing to do with food, skin, or sunlight did the situation begin to shift. That factor is chronic stress. Daily habitual stress that people no longer notice because it has become the background noise of their lives. Here is the mechanism. When you are anxious, worried, or upset, the brain fires an alarm signal. The adrenal glands, 2 small glands positioned on top of your kidneys, release stress hormones into the bloodstream. In prehistoric times, those hormones saved lives. They raised blood pressure, accelerated the heart, sharpened the tension, everything needed to survive a physical threat. But your body cannot distinguish between a real threat and an emotional one. A conflict with a neighbor, worry about your children, a sleepless night spent reading the news. The body registers all of it as the same signal, danger. And the stress hormones flow, not once, every day. Morning anxiety, midday irritability, evening exhaustion that sleep does not resolve. Does that sound familiar? Chronic stress drives skin deterioration through multiple pathways. First, it amplifies systemic inflammation, the same low-grade chronic inflammation we have discussed throughout this video. Second, stress triggers production of compounds from the pro-opiomelanocortin family. Pro-opiomelanocortin is a precursor protein, a raw material from which the body manufactures several hormones, including some that directly stimulate pigment production. Third, stress degrades the skin's barrier function, making it more vulnerable to external damage. People under chronic stress show skin disorders, including pigmentation irregularities, at substantially higher rates. You can do everything right nutritionally and follow every protocol, but if you are in a state of chronic stress every day, the inflammatory processes will continue. The solution is not to eliminate all stress. That is not a realistic prescription, but you can train your body to mount a calmer physiological response. Here is a specific technique that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is the branch of your nervous system responsible for rest, recovery, and restoration, the biological counterbalance to the stress response.